I'm going to hand it off to Catherine Magana to start with a virtual Pledge of Allegiance.
Great. Well, good morning, everybody. I do have a flag with me this morning, so if you'd like to join me. So ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just some quick house rules. It's helpful to mute yourself when you're not speaking, just so there's no background noise, no kids or dogs, or side comments. And when you are speaking, please remember where the mute is. So we're going to do a quick round of introductions. We did this last time and it worked really well. It's kind of like a memory game, so you have to pay attention, because after you quickly introduce yourself and your organization, you're going to hand it off to the next person on your screen who has not yet gone. So you have to pay attention to who's gone or who hasn't gone. So I'll start and give you an example. Good morning, my name is Teresa Acosta, president of Acosta and Partners. I'm the chair of the Government Affairs Committee, and I will pass it along to Haley Wansley.
Good morning, I'm Haley Wansley with the Tessa Communications Group, and I am your secretary for this committee meeting. So I will pass it along to Jeff Murphy.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jeff Murphy. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Carlsbad, and I'll pass it to Chuck.
Thank you. Good morning. Chuck Barrett's Managing Partner at Cloudforia. We specialize in automating your business process in the Salesforce Cloud. Hand it over to Catherine Magana.
Good morning, Catherine Magana, Managing Partner and Certified Financial Planner with WWM Financial. And I'll pass it along to Shirley Anderson.
Hi, Shirley Anderson. I'm with the Democratic Club of Carlsbad Oceanside, and I will pass it off to Kristen.
Hi, good morning. Kristen Hike with MiraCosta College, and I'm going for Kyle just because I don't see him at our favorite spot on Thursday nights anymore.
Kyle Crail-Frolander with Congressman Mike Levin's office. I'll pass it on to Leela Panagidis.
Hi, I'm Leela Panagidis, president of Leap Into Leadership, and I will pass it on to John.
That was John O'Reilly, right?
Yes.
John, can you unmute yourself? You may have stepped away. Let's pass it along to Alex, and we'll come back to John O'Reilly. Alex Kiwan.
Good morning. My name is Alex Kiwan, and I'm a field representative with Assemblymember Tasha Berner Horvath's office. I will pass it on to Shirley Anderson.
Ooh, she's already gone, but you joined late, so you get a pass. You're not in trouble.
All right, let's see.
How about
Matthew gone?
Let's pass it on to Crystal.
Okay, perfect.
Good morning, everyone. Crystal Jabara with the Office of Supervisor Jim Desmond, and I will pass it along to Matthew since he already unmuted.
Thank you, Crystal. Matthew Fye with the Office of Senator Pat Bates, and I will pass it on to JR.
Hey, good morning, everybody. J.R. Phillips with Phillips & Company Real Estate. Good to see you all.
I'll go.
You missed the instructions to pass it on.
I just got back from Carlsbad Ranch Market, juice and coffee.
I'll go ahead and go. Brett Schonzenbach, CEO at the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and I'll pass it to Jim Scanlon.
I'm Scanlon. I'm the broker at Scanlon Realty Management. We're a property management firm here in the Valley. Pass it on to Carl Stryker.
Good morning, everybody. Carl Stryker. I'm with Prime Lending. I'm a loan originator, helping people put together home financing. And I will pass it on to John Riley if he's back to the mic.
Yeah, John O'Reilly, O'Reilly Wealth Advisors and Palomar Airport Advisory Committee. And I see that you have some sort of a system here. So tell me who hasn't gone yet, and I'll pass it on to him.
How about Jeff Bott?
Good morning, everyone. Jeff Bott, Public Affairs for the Toll Roads, TCA.
Great, thank you.
I
And
can't see who else to pass it on to.
that's okay. We can pass it along to Katie Scanlon.
Thanks.
Morning, everyone. Katie Scanlon, Public Affairs Manager with SDG.
Great. And when you're done speaking, please remember to mute. Looks like we've got almost everyone. It looks good. Anybody not gone yet?
Carly Keats.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. My son just like barged in right when I was about to go, so I apologize. I'm with New Urban West, and we have a development in Carlsbad. And good morning.
Good morning. And then Jack Cumming.
Jack Cumming, I'm an actuary and I have no idea who's left, so I'm totally lost.
I think Jim Harper, I think.
Morning, everyone. Jim Harper, a partner at the law firm of Best and Krieger, and glad to be with you this morning. And I've got a list here of I think who might be next, but it could be totally wrong. How about Kurt?
Kurt Stembridge, Director of State Government Affairs for Greenwich Biosciences. And I have no clue who's next, so.
Mark from Visit Carlsbad, because I can't say your last name, Mark.
Mark Rudick, Interim Executive Director for Visit Carlsbad. And is that it?
It looks like it.
Kathy Steffen from the Chamber.
Sorry, Kathy.
Kathy Steffen, Director of Fund at the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce.
Now, are we good? Anybody else? Don't want to miss anybody. All right, thank you. I'm usually better at this, but Brett was on it this morning. I think my coffee has not yet kicked in. So we're done with introductions, and as other people come, they will add into the conversation. But we are now moving on to the approval of our previous meeting's minutes. You should have received those and had a chance to review them already. Please review them now if you have not yet, and we're ready to entertain a motion. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, JR. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Catherine, I see your hands. Thank you. A second from Catherine. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand since you're muted. Do we have any opposition? Okay, so it looks like the minutes are approved unanimously, except for elected officials and government offices, which traditionally we write a note that you've abstained per your request. Great, thank you. We have an excellent agenda today with some great speakers. And I haven't heard of any changes in the order, so we'll go ahead with the Carlsbad housing update with Jeff Murphy. You can go ahead and unmute, and everyone else, please mute yourselves. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about our housing element. As you well know, all jurisdictions are kind of going through this process of updating their housing elements for the next 8-year cycle. I do have a PowerPoint presentation I was going to go through. I noticed there's a few folks that might not be able to see that. If it's okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen. You guys can see that?
Yep, perfect.
And if I'm not sure, can you see my mouse run across the screen? Okay, good. So, as I mentioned, we're in the process of updating our housing element. We have we branded the effort, we're referring to it as Our Home, Our Future. So all of our documentations, our outreach effort, our online engagement exercises, all will have this type of branding on it. So just kind of background, as you may know, state mandates that every jurisdiction have a housing element. It covers an 8-year housing cycle. The existing plan is due to expire here in April of 2021. So we are in the process of updating the plan. Generally speaking, the plan has 2 elements to it. One is how a jurisdiction is going to accommodate the housing units that have been assigned to them. This is done through zoning. And then the other is how is the jurisdiction going to remove what the state calls barriers and impediments to achieve housing? You know, what are your regulations, your policies, The state really likes to get to a position of basically by right to get to that level of review and try to remove as much discretionary effort or requirements as possible. So here's some numbers for the state. It's identified roughly a little over 1 million units that needed to be identified or assigned to jurisdictions. They go to, I believe there's upwards of 20 different council of governments or COGs. Our COG is SANDAG, the San Diego Association of Governments, which was assigned a little over 171,000 units. Carlsbad's portion of it is a little under 4,000 units. So just kind of in comparison to how we fit with the rest of the San Diego region, City of San Diego got the lion's share of the RHNA allocation, close to 60, I think it's 65% of the total RHNA number. Carlsbad's about middle of the pack with their 3,800. Now, it's not just you build, have to build single family homes. The way the state identifies the units is by income level. And generally there's 4 different income levels as shown on this slide. You got very low income, low, moderate, and then above moderate. And each one is assigned, is based on an area median income range. Now, area median income is not the income levels of Carlsbad, it's of the region, which is the San Diego region, which for a family of 4 is a little under $93,000. So looking at a very low income, a family of 4 would make anywhere from $35,000 to $57,000 a year and so forth, all the way to above moderate, which is a little over $111,000. So looking at how that assignment, those units get assigned to Carlsbad with SANDAG, the breakdown is here, shown here, where almost half of those units are above moderate, leaving the rest in the low and from moderate down to very low. When you look at Carlsbad, we have a much lower percent for above moderate. That's largely because we slated last cycle where we produced well above what we were allocated in our current housing cycle, but we didn't do so well in the low and very low income categories, which is why our numbers appear a little higher. So people often ask me, what's our units compared to last year? We actually went down 1,000 units, but as I mentioned before, it's in the above moderate category. We actually went up in the lower income categories compared to what our current plan is. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The way the state requires jurisdictions to plan for affordable housing is they look at it as density as a proxy for affordability, which is a fancy way of saying the more units you can cram on a piece of property, the construction costs of those units tend to go down, which then translates to lower rent prices or rent or sales. Now, I could imagine what you guys are saying is, no, that's not true. That's not necessarily true. And it's true, you're right. One of the factors that's not considered in this strategy is the sale or the cost of land. So not to pick on any particular jurisdictions, but if you're in Fresno or Bakersfield where land values tend to be low, this concept of density being a proxy affordability works. But when you're a coastal city, it's very difficult to have this concept work because of the simple fact that our home price or the land values are so high. But this is the model that the state requires all jurisdictions to follow. So when we plan for housing for very low income, we need to plan sites that have at least a minimum density of 30 dwelling units per acre. So just so you get a flavor for what that looks like, for those who are familiar with Carlsbad, I'm going to throw a couple of pictures of some existing developments. This is the Bluffs over by the lagoon. It's almost 15 dwelling units per acre. Village by a Sea, this one's just under 30. Carlsbad Village Lofts, this is one that just got approved and it's under construction. It's close to 50 dwelling units an acre. The senior apartment projects over on Harding is 50, and just for fun, the Hearst Castle is not very dense and it would not qualify for our housing element. So just kind of stop here for a minute. Is everybody clear as to where we are so far? Confused, questions? Go ahead and kind of interrupt and shout out. Okay. So now that we know the number, then it's a question of, all right, how do we identify the sites? Well, the state does have some limitations on where we can put housing. A lot of these rules come from other jurisdictions that try to put housing in places that probably wasn't the best place to locate them. And so rules got put in place to kind of limit that for all jurisdictions. So, you know, so I'll talk a little bit more about physical constraints and where we're limited and where we put those. Jurisdictional conflicts, it's not a prohibition, but it is a conflict we have with other state agencies that frustrate our ability to plan for housing. Some new regulations, one is that the state is now requiring that the public utilities have to actually exist, or there is a capital improvement program in place for the utility, whether it's water, sewer, roads. Redevelopment sites, so if you have a site that you're looking at potentially redeveloping for a mixed use or even a residential, the state requires that that housing development needs to occur within that housing cycle, so within that 8-year housing cycle. Another one that's come down is that if you had a housing site identified in the last 2 housing cycles, so the last 16 years, if it's still not developed, you can no longer qualify, you can no longer use that as a qualifying site under your housing element. And then 2 big ones that got changed was anything under a ½ acre, anything over 10 acres in size no longer qualifies. Now on the right, you'll see unless you've proven otherwise. So what the state does is they throw these barriers up and they say you can't do this unless you can prove that you have a track record of actually providing affordable housing under these conditions. Carlsbad is unique where we can prove that, particularly with under a ½ acre size lots in our village barrio area, where we have a history of actually developing or approving development projects in that area which are affordable and have a high density. So we'll be able to take some credit for that. The last, and I'm sure we're going to get a few questions regarding SB 330 and how that applies to our housing element. 2 factors with that. One is it prohibits jurisdictions from applying a moratorium, and it also prohibits us from applying a cap. Both of those are part of our growth management plan. So just really very quickly on that. So our growth management plan is, the concept being is we do not want to approve growth and development in an area where the utilities and services that are needed to serve that growth and development aren't available. And so what HCD, and we've already asked this question of them, is stipulated is you cannot deny a project because of because of a lack of infrastructure. You have to allow the application to go forward and actually come up with their individual development plan proposal for any type of street improvements that are required. So let's real quickly go through the constraints map. So anything that is a constraint, we cannot rezone for high density development. So anything where here we have slope areas, high fire hazard areas. This is actually mapped by CAL FIRE at the state. Obviously transmission corridors, floodplains, floodways, airport noise contour areas, any place where there's environmental sensitive areas. So when you look at a composite, anything it's colored, we cannot put housing in those areas. So as you can see, it really constrains where we can put our higher density development. So I talked a little bit about jurisdictional constraints. With this, we're being a coastal city, we're subject to the Coastal Act, and the area and grade is part of the Coastal Commission's authority. It's not that you can't put housing in this area. What I want to highlight is that we often run into frustrations, I would say, between the 2 state agencies where the Department of Housing Community Development, or HCD, is the one pushing for more housing and the requirements of the housing element, while the Coastal Commission is responsible for maintaining and promoting access to the coast. Sometimes their policies conflict. A good conflict to bring up is accessory dwelling units. HCD is really pushing and making movements to make those as by right as possible and eliminating or reducing the city's ability to regulate them. One area in particular is allowing for like garage conversions and new units without requiring additional parking requirements. So if you don't have parking on site, where they end up parking, which is on the road, which is something Coastal Commission doesn't like. because that's taken away from access from people, from visitors and tourists who take access off the to park on the streets and access the beaches. So you run into issues where you have two competing jurisdictions, and we're kind of stuck in the middle. I kind of equate it to, mom and dad going through a wicked divorce, and we're the kids in the middle trying to figure out how to appease both parents. The other one is the Airport Land Authority. This is not, again, it's not that we can't put housing here, but it's one where the airport, for obvious reasons, doesn't like to have high density development in areas where there's airplane traffic. We still good? Okay. All right, so now that we have our RHNA number, we have an idea where we are limited in terms of where we can put the housing. Let's now talk about how we plan for it. So the top bar right here is called what I call the RHNA gross number. So these are the numbers that are shown earlier. Since 30 dwelling units per acre is for the very low and low income category, I've added the two together here. So first step, whenever you look at your housing element update, is you look at your current plan and you ask yourself or find out what sites have been identified in your current plan that you could apply to your total, to this number. And so that's this number here shown here. The state has given us a lot of latitude given the reductions in regulations that they are imposing on accessory dwelling units. So that is known here. And then they're giving us credit for development projects that are in the queue that will likely get built within this coming housing cycle. And we have a number of applications in the process. So when you look at our RHNA numbers, again, before we even, crack open our plan to kind of re-look at the next 8 years, we are already exceeding our moderate income, above moderate income category. So we're pretty good safe here. Even our moderate, we have a surplus of 44 units. It's the very low income that we need to plan for, which is about 566 units. So then we'll go through just very quickly on this one. So now it's a matter of what can you do to your plan to get those numbers. One of the things we can do here is under our, here, I'll go to this slide. One of our current zoning shows here is you got R15, R30, and here's the range of density that's allowed. Under our current plan, we assume developers are going to build at the lowest range. What we're saying is, what if we made it so they have to build at the middle range or even at the highest range? What would that end up doing? And here, if we change it from minimum to a density mid-range, we get an additional 160 units. And then these, we're still doing the math on these, so I'm putting it as pending. We're looking at some industrial areas that we were looking at. This would be the income, the unit count that rezoning some industrial space would be, and then commercial here. Another area that you do, and this is what a lot of jurisdictions are going to end up doing, is upzoning a lot of areas, going from like an R4 to an R30. But we have to be somewhat strategic in how that is done. So our timeline is shown here. All jurisdictions have to have a certified and adopted housing element by April 2021. That's not too far in the future. And when they say it's certified, that means that HCD has accepted it and the local jurisdiction has adopted it. So we have to be ready by January with our housing element and start the hearing process at that time. So a lot of folks ask me, what happens if we don't comply? What if we just kind of blow it off? There's a number of bills that have been passed recently. SB 35 requires basically by right development for certain development projects that meet a list of criteria. If the local jurisdiction is not maintaining or following their housing element. SB 2 prohibits jurisdictions from getting any type of grant funding at the state. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars that all jurisdictions draw from that if you don't have a housing element, that eliminates your ability to go after those funds. The big one that got approved this I think it was last year, was AB 101, where a jurisdiction that doesn't have a housing element can actually be fined tens of thousands of dollars a month until they get a housing element certified and adopted. And then this one's not it's more of a penalty once the housing element is approved. There's a no net loss provision. So if you approve a project that is below the max that you identified in your housing element, you have to find another piece of property to rezone to make up the difference. As far as lawsuits, there's been a number of them. City of Pasadena had to go endure a moratorium that prevented them from issuing building permits and discretionary permits until they had a housing element done. Fremont, where we had the courts actually assumed the land use authority and they were approving projects. Another one is City of Encinitas got hit with a suit where it mandated compliance of actually it was an expedited deadline to comply with housing law. And then the state attorney general has filed a series of lawsuits. Huntington Beach got hit with it. It's unclear as to what the impacts are with that, but it's likely they'll be hit with those tens of thousands of dollars in fines until they get that housing element done. So this is basically me coming home every night. Usually there's a scotch right next to me, but in all seriousness, we are underway with our housing element plan. I have our website up here. I'm a real big fan of fact sheets, 1 or 2 page documents that kind of summarize a lot of this stuff. The thing that I just talked about in the RHNA process is shown in this fact sheet here. If you're interested in accessory dwelling units and what the requirements are for those, we have a sheet there. We also have a housing element advisory committee that meets on a regular basis. We're at a point right now where we're starting to look at potential sites and then figuring, or once we identify those sites, what's the best course of action in terms of rezoning and kind of coming up with those numbers that are necessary in order to comply with our housing element. So with that, I am open to add any questions.
Thank you so much, Jeff. We're happy to entertain a few questions.
I have one. Hey, Jeff, that's a great presentation. Is there a chance that we can get a copy of that on a PDF?
Sure, yeah, I can do that, and I'll send it to you, Brett.
That would be great. Thank you.
Hi, Jeff. This is Leila Panagitis. Now that a lot of people are working from home and may continue to work from home, is there an idea or openness to looking at rezoning industrial space for residential, multi-use, commercial, multi-dwelling units?
Is there, I'm sorry, is there an interest for that? Yes.
Yeah.
So that's one of the areas that we're looking at as an opportunity to make up the shortfall in our very low income. We have to be careful with industrial simply because there's other permitting requirements for industrial space. You have industrial tenants that often have chemicals on site that get regulated by the state, and they're not grandfathered in. They can change. And so if a certain chemical requires a further distance from residential, you're adversely impacting that business because they have to change their business model, their operations, if there's housing too close to it. And so we have to be mindful of that, but we also have a lot of surplus industrial areas in the city that are still vacant and haven't been developed. And so that's one area we're looking at for potential housing.
Thank you. Other questions? Well, I'm sure more will come up. Jeff, do we have your email address? Did you?
Yes, and please give me a call. I can tell you that so a lot of jurisdictions, because of COVID, are kind of struggling with the community engagement, which is a huge part of doing a housing element update. And so they've all come and asked the state for a 6-month extension on the housing element. As a matter of fact, I mentioned before, SANDAG and the COGS, the Southern California COGS, there's 4 of them, wrote a joint letter asking for the same thing, for the same 6-month extension. We haven't heard anything from the governor yet about it. We're hopeful he will extend it because, again, you can't do these plan updates in a vacuum, and it's really hard to even do Zooms like these and really get a robust conversation. So we're trudging forward to meet the April deadline, but we are hopeful that we can get an extension so we can have more dialogue with the community.
Thank you very much. And I saw in the chat that Brett's going to go ahead and send the presentation. We're kind of tight on time. We've got a lot of great speakers. Any other burning questions that we can answer real quick? JR, I saw your hand. Is it quick?
I'm just curious, Jeff, if you have a map created that would fit into that presentation. You showed us where it would be very difficult or illegal to develop. Do you have the reverse of that map that could show the citizens and our community members where we are mandated to look to develop?
Yeah, what we could, and we're working on it, is an area where we likely could upzone, because it's some areas it's just like there's single family residential area a lot in that, like that white space area, that we couldn't upzone those, and it's unlikely that you would ever get higher density. So the idea is that here's a list of sites or identifying sites where we could look at potentially either upzoning or modifying in some way. And that's a map that we'll be working on and be releasing here soon, hopefully.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeff, for being here with us today and explaining this. It's so important. So we look forward to staying in touch with you. Okay. We're going to move along to our next speaker, and his presentation dovetails what's going on in Carlsbad and what can we do to help prepare and improve our economy post-COVID, during and post-COVID. And this is Mark Rudick. I hope I said that right. And his topic is re-energizing Carlsbad tourism. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Brett asked me to come and present to you guys. So I'm just going to go through some of the stuff that we as an organization are doing and working in conjunction with the city to help our recovery process and bring tourism back to the area. So a little just kind of background on myself. I've been working here at Carlsbad, Visit Carlsbad, for about 3 years now, about 6 months in the interim executive director role. Previous to that, my background had me in Newport Beach. I worked there for almost 6 years at their DMO. And prior to that, up in Mammoth Lakes for the city of Mammoth Lakes for their destination marketing organization. About 18 years total of marketing background, and 10 years of that in the tourism space of DMOs. So basically, of course, March hit, March 15th, we saw the writing on the wall. Visit Carlsbad as an organization shut down all of our spending. We saw that no one was going to be traveling as this thing got worse. And it was a shame because we were right in the middle of our spring campaign and it was performing really well. And we were seeing on the STAR report that transient occupancy for the first 2 months of this year was up 9% year over year, which was great, especially considering we did a big campaign the previous spring and we had great results from that. So we were even trending even better. And then COVID hit, and then everything came to a shut. We shut down. We also operate the visitor center for the city of Carlsbad here in the village. That was shut down as well at the same time, and everyone furloughed basically. So with all that said, we saw the first 2 months of stay at home, and then started opening back up. And once we started opening back up, we saw that there was a need to kind of promote some of these different areas, and the city being one of the few forward thinking in the whole state of California, if not the nation, really saw a need not just for small businesses, but also to market the city destination as we start to recover. So they passed a $5 million budget, that the majority of which was for small loans to businesses. And then part of that, they cut out $250,000 to supplement for actual marketing of the destination in this recovery phase. Which was great because, our budget, once this COVID hit, we basically had a budget, our new fiscal year, which starts today, we had a budget for a 34% decrease, and that could be even more depending on how hotels do, because we're funded through a T-bid, which is a direct assessment on all the room night stays. So with that $250,000, that's going to go a lot to help us supplement our decreased budget and really kind of keep messaging out there. And what we're going to do with that, and we put a whole plan together and have been working with the city and the city council on this, and just finally got the final approvals on it. But we're going to focus on different major segments with kind of a phased approach as things reopen. So, it's a very moving target. We're seeing things open, and then we just got dialed back on things like bars and nightlife and such. So, it's a very moving target. We have to adjust as things go. We're hoping for improvements, but we have to be prepared also for things, unexpected things to happen, and then adjust accordingly. So, we're looking at the different segments. You know, we're really focusing on restaurants, hotels, activities and outdoors, and even group sales, because, you know, that one was hit the hardest for our hotels. Group sales are most likely forecasted not to really come back until 2021. And that, you know, group sales makes a huge part of the hotel's stays. You know, it could be as much as 50% or more of their total hotel rooms over the year. And that's really going to be a big hit for the hotels. So some of the things that, you know, we want to really focus on is the local drive markets. What the research has shown is that with the COVID and everything, people don't want to get on planes. They want to get in their car and drive. And our market has always been a drive market, but now that drive market really extends to about 750 miles, are saying that people are willing to drive. So if you take, for example, that the city of San Francisco is about 470 miles away, it really gives us a broad reach to that drive market. So you're looking at Northern California, you're also looking at, of course, Arizona, Phoenix. We get a lot of tourism from there. You know, Los Angeles. So it's kind of a very broad area, but the majority of that we're going to really see from other surrounding Southern California destinations like Los Angeles is going to be huge. What we'll do is, you know, the messaging is to focus on our open areas. That's really going to be key to what people are looking for now with COVID. And we've got some of the best outdoor areas there is. We've got 7 miles of beaches. We've got, you know, more trails than all of San Diego County combined in Carlsbad. So that's going to be really a cornerstone of a lot of the sub messaging that I mentioned earlier, to kind of really get that in there, that this is the place to come to stay away, stay distanced, and stay safe. Carlsbad is calling is kind of the moniker and the umbrella terminology that we're using for this campaign. It has a lot of different meanings. It can be spread across a lot of different messages and a lot of different of the subcategories, even with group sales, everything. So Carlsbad is calling. And then we're going to really work on putting together a whole integrated campaign, which we've outlined already for the city. Originally, we were going to start getting this going mid-July, as early as mid-July. But now we've just seen some of the recent shutdowns. Some of our major hotels still haven't opened. So we're kind of pushing that back a little bit and just kind of really keeping an eye on what's happening and keeping some of the messaging going, but just on certain channels. So we've already began advertising the destination on like paid search, social media ads, paid ads, and things of that nature. But eventually we're going to do a whole integrated campaign. It's going to include a lot of video. The video will be shown on websites. It'll be shown on connected TV devices. So like your Hulu, your Roku, that kind of stuff. We're going to be doing digital radio. We're going to be doing retargeting and display banner ads. We're going to be doing blog content, all kinds of different stuff eventually for a full integrated campaign. But again, it's going to be phased in, and we got to really make sure we get the timing right so that we're not getting out there too early or, you know, too late. Basically, what we're looking at is to really focus a lot on this Carlsbad is Calling campaign, but with supplementing the budget from Visit Carlsbad will effectively give us kind of a full year campaign to really stay out there, which is something we haven't really been able to do due to budget limitations. But because of this, we'll actually be able to really kind of keep messaging consistent for our complete fiscal year, which doesn't end until July or June 30th of 2021. So we're hoping for things, you know, to get better. Hopefully we can get people to understand that masks are essential and we gotta, you know, get a hold on this virus. Because if we do, we've got a lot of great assets that we can really promote. We're looking at August 1st is the latest that just came out that the governor said no new openings until then. So really, you know, best case scenario, we can start really getting this campaign going in August. Again, we're going to keep running a minitude of different advertising and really kind of get everything ready to go for that big push. The organization itself is a Carlsbad, you know, we've been around for many, many years and working with the city has been great, but we're also, you know, looking to potentially increase our assessment increase for how we're funded. So this is something else we're looking at. And if that goes through, that will give us additional budget as well, probably would go in effect close to the end of the year here, which will give us additional dollars to market the destination. So all in all, you know, the tourism, it's looking good. There's a lot of people. I'm here in the village. There's a lot of people around every day. People are definitely clamoring to get out. But what the city, you know, really wants to reiterate is that we got to do this in a safe way. We got to make sure that we're all doing our part. And if we do so, everyone will be able to enjoy all the different assets of our city and the whole state of California.
Great, thank you so much, Mark. Now we're ready for some Q&A. Folks have some questions for Mark? Or was it so comprehensive that there are no questions? Great job, Mark.
Mark, I have a question, Mark. So you mentioned this a little bit, but you know, obviously your budget is so based on revenue that comes from room rentals, and that's such an unknown this year. You know, how in the heck do you put together you know, this budget? I know you got thankfully some money and infusion from the city, but how in the heck do you really budget for just a complete year of unknowns?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question, because it is going to be a bunch of unknowns. And as we go, we're going to have to adjust. So, you know, very realistically, we're going to, if things, let's say if they went really on the bad side of things and we didn't see a lot of people staying in hotels, our budget will definitely be more effective or affected. And we're going to have to reevaluate as the year goes. And if things are really trending badly, we're going to have to readjust. And this is what we did with this previous years. When we saw the writing on the wall, we cut all of our spending, and, you know, we actually were able to save about 14% of the overall budget for that fiscal year, which was about 49% of the last 4 months that was budgeted that we saved for those 4 months. So almost half of the money that was allocated for the final 4 months of the fiscal year, we were able to save. So it's going to be a game of cat and mouse. It's going to be, you know, when the time is right to advertise. And hotels, you know, I think will come back pretty strongly. I think people want to travel. Their sentiment is out there. They want to get out, but they want to do it in a safe way. So with everything that the hotels are doing to make things safer, combined with, you know, the desire to travel, and if we can get a hold of this virus, I think, you know, things can turn around pretty decently. But we are going to be affected for years to come with this, as well as the hotels, especially like I mentioned on the group side of things, that you know, we have to get that component going and back in place to really get to that 100% recovery point. And originally, you know, they were saying it's going to take about 2 years to get to pre-COVID numbers again. You know, I've heard even now some people forecasting 3 years. So really the realistic answer is no one knows at this point. It's a moving target, and everyone's just going to have to reevaluate as things go month to month.
Well, let us know as the campaigns launch. You and I have spoken, of course, offline, and we're ready to help promote as well.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate everyone's support. And again, you know, even some of the other members that are representing other people here on the call, everyone's doing their part to really try to get that tourism restarted, because it is such a vital part of the California economy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mark. There's some good comments in the chat if you want to take a look.
Sure.
So thank you. And we all really appreciate your being here and the work that you're doing. So let's move along to Kristen Hike. She's representing MiraCosta College, and she's going to talk with us about MiraCosta's plans for 2021. Thanks, Kristen.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. I've narrowed down the presentation to about 45 minutes. I'm joking. But just wanted to give a quick update on what's happening at MiraCosta. During the transition, it was first and foremost wanted to make sure our students were supported. We had handed out laptops, we've had drive-through food pantries. The foundation has been active to raise about $450,000. We appreciate the work from Congressmember Levin for the support of the $5.5 million for CARES Act, again, to support our students and also change and improve some of the infrastructure on campus. In spring, everything went online, like most things. So we basically transitioned about 1,500 courses to online. We had a total of about 1,900, and so the 400 were already online in some way, but transitioning almost 2,000 courses to be up and running online in spring. So it was a quick, nimble response to make sure that the education is being provided to our region. And as we just talked about with tourism, and we want that influx of money to make sure that those that need to be re-educated have opportunities to do so. We've been doing a campaign talking about make sure you're essential, and getting the tools to, if someone's in a job or career that's not essential right now and they're waiting around, let's get you retrained. Been working a lot with Assembly Member Tasha Berner Horvath's office. So thank you, Alex, for everything there on, again, trying to get folks retrained and get back into the work field for what it is, either during COVID or post-COVID. Couple recognitions we've had. So we were able to celebrate a couple things. MiraCosta had 3 Jack Kent Cook Scholars. And when it comes to recognitions, this is probably one of the highest award a single student can earn in community college. They essentially, there's about 55 in the nation, and it's $40,000 for them to pursue their undergraduate degree. Many of them go to the Ivy League schools, so we were excited to celebrate that. We also had some PTK, which is the Honor Society recognition there. Another thing that we had was the federal work study pilot. So we were one of the schools selected by the federal government to pilot a work study program in the fall. And so this is to help support students that are actually working. So the federal government helps provide the funding, but they're getting that hands-on experience. So we're excited to do that. And then as it relates to Carlsbad, we collaborated with our TCI campus as well as community members to make PPE masks and desanitation boxes. Here we had a campus or a site in Carlsbad where a lot of the education is hands-on. So how do we keep the students learning in the engineering program? How do we keep the manufacturing going? So this was a quick kind of pivoting in response to COVID. We had commencements. It was our first digital commencement. I don't want to say it's going to be our first and only, but I hope it is. So we had a great celebration. We had 3,000 people join in watching it, and a class of about 500 that participated in it. If you want to watch the video, the commencement is on the website in front. And for summer, we've up and running. We have over 400 sections, and we were about up 10% in our enrollment. So we're seeing an increase in our summer programs. Some of it is students that would typically go to a university and they're coming home from the summer. Some of it is students that would go to a university and they're not sure if they're going to proceed in the fall. So there's a lot of unknown right now. But it's bode very well for our summer program. So all the classes right now are still online. We are, as an institution, open for business. We're just not having students on campus or staff or faculty on campus. So it is all online at this point. We also see $2Ks there. The $510,000 renewal for the SoCal Veterans Business Outreach Center, and we're excited about this. This is located at the TCI campus, so here in Carlsbad, and this is really to help those that are veterans in their business outreach, how to make sure their business keeps on going and making sure that they have the resources they need to be successful at this time. So this was a great ability to still provide these services. We also have our Measure MM. So in 2016, thank you to this group, thank you to the community, a bond was passed. And so it's a $455 million bond. And so construction is still proceeding. It's actually, hearing from some of the contractors, they're able to move pretty quickly because they're have the flexibility of not having folks on campus, and so there's no interference. We did release our annual report, which is available at the Measure MM website. If you want to take a look at some of the projects, we've completed about 5 already, and we have a couple slated to be completed in fall. More than likely, we'll be doing a virtual ribbon cutting, and so I'll make sure that this group is invited. For our Independent Citizens Oversight Committee, we do have a vacancy. So if anybody wants to serve, get involved, please go to the Measure MM webpage or please forward that website. We are looking for those that would love to serve, and particularly from the southern portion of the district. So I know we have one representative from the chamber, But if you know of anybody else, we're always open to that. So for fall, right now, we are moving forward with approximately, I would say, and don't quote me on this, around 95% of our courses online. We have a couple hands-on that are face-to-face, some of our biotechnology labs, some of our automotive labs, but they're not 100% face-to-face, so they're a hybrid model. One thing that we're doing is there's the online courses, and so this is kind of the traditional online where there isn't a set check-in. There's also the scheduled online courses. So for students that may want additional structure, so I teach a class Wednesday in political science and it's 6 o'clock. So every Wednesday at 6, we have a Zoom session. So this helps for those that are trying to schedule. We also, the online allows that flexibility, so there isn't that, that time component. Also in the fall, MiraCosta is the first community college in California to offer associate degree online for transfer in social work and human services. We know that there's a great need in San Diego County, so this program was developed to support our region and to ensure that those that are going through the training are able to get a job. The last thing we want is to train students that cannot lead to a career, and we know the great need for online social and human services, so we're excited to have that kicked off in the fall. And I try to keep it very short, concise, but I'm always open for questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kristen. That was an excellent presentation. I know it's hard times right now. Do we have questions?
And I realized I wasn't sharing my screen the whole time.
Kristen, you mentioned, sorry, excuse me, that 95% of your classes are anticipated being online for the fall. And then is that, so at this point, as you look to the entire school year, are you guys just taking it semester by semester and kind of evaluating how this will go and seeing, you know, making decisions for, say, the spring, you know, once we get farther into the fall? Is that kind of how the approach is?
Yeah, so right now we are following the directive of both the state and the county. And well, the state has not allowed for colleges and universities to open up. We're right there with concerts. I don't know how we got with the concerts and festivals. I mean, I guess it's 3 of my favorite things in one group. But so technically universities and colleges are not able to open up at this point. We'll start discussions, I believe, for our spring schedule, probably September. But one of the challenges is even for the fall schedule, when COVID first came into place, we're like, yep, we're going to proceed with our regular fall schedule. We printed a schedule. We have 9,500 printed copies in our warehouse right now that will never see the light of day because we redid the schedule because of what's going on. So we're, like many businesses, like many organizations right now, trying to keep our finger on the pulse, trying to be prepared for no matter what happens. And make sure that we're being nimble and responsive to our students' needs.
Great, thank you. I thought I saw a hand, but I'm not sure that I do. Oh, Catherine.
Kristen, great presentation. Thank you for the update. Are there any, I guess, as you look forward and are thinking some people might be transitioning into going to MiraCosta, do you have any plans for increased classes, or is capacity an issue? And I know I'm also hearing out kind of in the field a little bit, there's some people may be interested in taking some extra little classes. You know, obviously people have a little more time on their hands. So not just students, but maybe some adults.
Yeah, we are tracking our enrollment right now, and full disclosure, our enrollment for fall is a little bit lower than last year. And I think we're seeing this the same thing that was for summer. It was tracking a little bit slower and then it instantly picked up. So I think that's what we'll see for our fall semester is folks are just very uncertain right now. They don't want to commit to an 8-week or a 6-week course until they know what's going on in their personal life. Are they going to have employment? Are they going to have childcare? Do they want to pursue a degree? Are they going to go back to a university? So there's so many unknowns. We are tracking it. I think in the fall we have some flexibility, but we'll definitely be taking that into account for the spring.
Great, thank you. I think one of the things that I keep hearing about MiraCosta is how we've already been providing online courses for a while, and it's a little easier for MiraCosta to pivot when some other organizations like K through 12 or other universities aren't ready, and they've been just totally shocked by this change.
Yeah, we were able to continue. So we had spring break right when COVID went into place. Our students got an extra week of spring break to allow staff and faculty the time to get their courses online and up and running. But we've been open every day to make sure that we're providing for our community.
Great, thank you. And we'd love it if you would share your presentation that we get to see. Send it to Brad. Share it. And also your email address maybe in the chat would be helpful.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you again, Kristen, for being here.
Thank you.
We're going to move along to the elected official offices legislative reports, and we'll start with the top jurisdictions. Kyle, would you like to present for Congressman Mike Levin? Thank you.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'll start off. I've been able to give a report to you all in a while, so some of the things will be a recap of things over the last couple months, but we're really excited. Our Songs Task Force report was released last week. Congressman Levin convened a task force of over 30 experts and local stakeholders to find solutions to safely store, but also importantly, accelerate the removal of the nuclear waste at San Onofre. They've been working since the congressman got into office on this report. They came up with 30 different recommendations. You can access them on our website. Some of them get a little technical, but I think the real takeaways are the 8 actions that the congressman is going to be working on that he can bring to the federal level. Again, just to try to accelerate the removal of the nuclear waste at San Onofre. If you're not too dialed in, they're almost done loading the final amounts of spent nuclear fuel into canisters and dry storage. That should be anticipated to be finished by the end of the summer at the latest, if not the end of this month. So the situation changes then, where now we have that spent nuclear fuel stranded at San Onofre for the foreseeable future until essentially there's a federal solution. So that's what the congressman's been really trying to work hard on since he got into office, and this was a culmination of a lot of those efforts that will hopefully move us forward. The congressman is in DC right now. He's voting on legislation and he's leading hearings. And tonight he's expected to vote on the Moving Forward Act. The Moving Forward Act is also known as HR 2. As you would imagine, bills that have such a small number on them are the highest priority bills. HR 2 was set aside as an infrastructure investment bill. And so this is the infrastructure bill that the House is pushing forward. It's a robust investment to boost our economy. We were really excited. It includes a few of the congressman's bills in it. So obviously it's a big package, has lots of different pieces, but one of the pieces is the congressman's Desalination Development Act. If you're not aware, the Congressman's Desalination Development Act increases funding for desalination projects. Wouldn't necessarily implicate the Carlsbad desal project, but it does encourage projects like that, including some in our district, South Orange County and others. I also think it's important to mention that the congressman co-sponsored the Restaurants Act, which is HR 7197. If you want to look it up, HR 7197. The Restaurants Act is a $120 billion grant program to help independent restaurants through these times. Congressman, as you are probably aware, voted for the HEROES Act back in May. The HEROES Act was kind of another follow-along to the CARES Act. Significant assistance to our local governments who have been really struggling to help them avoid essentially bone-cutting layoffs, as well as other pieces of economic aid as unemployment benefits are running out. Obviously, PPP ended. So that was passed back in May. It also, in addition to the economic aid, it also expands federal support for testing for coronavirus. And I think is very critical, as we all understand here, but especially important for states like Texas, where testing sites are actually shutting down because of the federal support lapsing. And the existing testing sites are actually being overwhelmed. So that's part of the HEROES Act as well that doesn't get all the attention. So it's more critical than ever that the Senate pass a bill to support our economy and respond to the coronavirus crisis, similar to the HEROES Act. And then finally, I'll leave with the tourism roundtable that we're hosting. This is on Monday at 2:30 p.m. You are all invited. We'd love to have you there. We have a great list of speakers. Legoland will be a part of the panel, Assemblymember Warner Horvath, the fairgrounds, Mayor of Oceanside, the San Diego Regional Tourism Authority, and Eric Ruvold from the EDC will all be presenting. And I'll leave the link in the chat so that you can sign up for a ticket and join us on Monday at 2:30. And with that, I'll pass it on. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was great information. Let's move along to Matthew 5 from Senator Bates' office.
Good morning, everyone. On the state Senate side, in terms of legislation, a few of the bills that the Senator's been working on have seen some movement, so I wanted to update all of you on that. One of them that I've discussed here before at the Chamber is SB 934. This is the measure that Senator Bates wrote with the in consultation with the Franchise Tax Board, the FTB, and this eliminates the filing fees for nonprofits. This is something that, interestingly enough, the FTB wanted because it actually costs the state more to collect these fees from these nonprofits than they were getting. So it kind of takes that away, one more fee away, and provides just an easier way for nonprofits to file. And so proud that that's continuing to go through the process. The state Senate approved it, so it'll go on to the Assembly now for consideration. As Kyle mentioned on songs, there's an update on the Senator's side for that as well. Another bill I know that I've discussed here before, SB 465. This was the Senator's bill dealing with emergency preparedness at songs. Actually, some good news on that front. Rather than going through the legislative side, we were able to get an agreement between all of these stakeholders on making sure that there is funding and that there is an agreement to make sure that there is emergency preparedness for songs. So we don't even need that piece of legislation anymore. So there's no issue with that. We're very happy with that outcome and are excited that that's been taken care of. On the budget side, I'm sure all of you have seen that the California state budget was just passed. It's a $202 billion state budget. It has some very creative accounting in it. And some very large assumptions. So we'll see how that plays out down the line. It expects quite a large sum of money, about $14 billion from the federal government sometime later this year. We don't know if that will come or not, but we'll find out. It also includes about $4 billion in tax increases on our businesses, which the Senator did not think was right, especially during these times. Our business community is struggling enough as it is, but once again, we're asking them to pick up the tab. So we'll see how that plays out. But other than that, we're continuing to do business as usual. Again, our offices are here to serve. We've still been working on quite a few EDD, Economic Development Department cases related to unemployment and other issues. So please feel free to send folks our way if they're still struggling on those issues. We know a lot of people, it's still very hard for people to get through to call. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd be happy to help and look into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. That was great. Let's move along to Alex Kiwan from Assemblymember Bernard Horvath's office.
So good morning, everyone. So the Assembly member, she is back in district for a short summer recess after passing a baseline state budget earlier this month. Given the state's economic shortfall and sobering revenue projections, this budget will allow for continued state programs and services while setting the stage for continued budget deliberations in the next 2 months. I'd also like to give just a quick legislative update. I haven't been able to update you guys on any of our bills in quite a while. AB 1949, which is a bill to strengthen the structure of the Leon Hubbard Marine Hatchery Program, which is located in Carlsbad, right off of Tamarack Avenue, has passed out of the Assembly, is now in the Senate. This bill is co-authored by Senator Bates as well. The sea bass marine hatchery is one of the only of its kind in the country and helps to support the commercial sea bass fishing industry in Southern California. Additionally, the Assembly member introduced earlier this month AB 1942, which is a bill co-sponsored by Cal Chamber, which would remove the barriers that disincentivize employers from allowing employees to telework. One thing I think we've seen as a silver lining during the pandemic is that so many businesses have been forced to make the jump to teleworking, and they're seeing that it really has some benefits for both their businesses as well as their employees. So that bill is currently going through the committee process, and I'll keep you updated as it moves along. And just like Matthew, our office, we're still working remotely, but we are here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And as the economy continues to oscillate between opening and closing, we're seeing this a lot, especially this week with bars that don't sell food will now be closing. So if you have any of your employees, or even you, if you're struggling with the EDD system to access unemployment insurance benefits, please reach out to us. I'll leave my email and our office phone number in the chat. It is extremely difficult for some people to get in contact with EDD, and we don't need to be seeing that. No one who has lost their job because of circumstances out of their control shouldn't have issue accessing benefits. So please feel free to send along anyone you know who needs assistance, and we're happy to help them out. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. And next we have Crystal Jabara from Supervisor Desmond's office.
Good morning, everyone. Where do I start? Since my phone is blowing up now, so I'm adding more to my update list. Let's start with board meeting. Last week, Board of Supervisors on Tuesday met and discussed COVID. Every board meeting, there's a COVID update. And in that, Supervisor Desmond made a motion that passed 4-1. And I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, Brett, and our other chambers of commerce who have been working with the supervisor to provide information and helps formulate the motions that he's going to make, helps review safety plans that are submitted to the public health officer. So our chambers of commerce are valuable partners in the motions that the supervisor's making. So the motion that passed 4-1 last week was to send a letter to the governor urging him to consider allowing San Diego County to open for wedding receptions, hotel meetings, limited conferences, private gatherings, and also guidance for street fairs, playgrounds, and team competitions. And the thought behind this is that controlled guest list type events or controlled environment events are easier to provide social distancing. You have pre-known guest lists. You can do house screenings prior to people coming. You have people working there whose licenses through the county and through the state and through the cities could be revoked if they violated. So there's a tougher regulations to help us enforce and make sure everyone's behaving well. And then also to be able to do contact tracing. So that passed. That letter was sent to the governor a day and a half later. And since then, we have new regulations. So a new health order went into effect today. It was announced 2 days ago. What that health order, and we finally saw it last night around 5 o'clock, is the closure of all, initially it said bars, wineries, and breweries. What we have come to find out, it's any venue that does not serve food. So you have to be seated, eat food with your meal, and with the exception of wineries who serve wine outdoors, they're allowed to stay open without providing food. So what we've come to find out is you can also partner with a food truck who is a licensed food truck or restaurant. So as long as people are seated, not standing, consuming food along with their alcohol, and the establishments can only be open from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. It also stipulates in the order that if someone is in a, let's say, restaurant at 10 p.m., the restaurant has to close, the patrons don't have to leave till 11. So if you have someone who walks in at 9:30, orders a meal, they don't have to immediately leave at 10. They can stay until 11. So, and then also we were advised that no new openings would be considered until at least August 1st. So I've been told that the governor is speaking today. He usually does a noon press conference when he speaks, and I'm being told that we need to watch that because new orders might be coming down. So the way it works right now, there are counties that are on a watch list. San Diego County is the only Southern California county that is not on a watch list right now. So our numbers are in the what they consider normal range. But all the other counties are on the watch list. So I have a feeling the governor, if he were to bring down stricter guidelines, it's probably going to be across California. So we're going to be watching today to see what those new orders bring. And the way it works, if the governor issues an order, a county can be more strict but not less strict. Same with cities. If the county issues an order, a city, so the city of Carlsbad could be more strict. They could close their beaches if they wanted to, but they could not be less strict. So if we close beaches, we being the county or the state, the city of Carlsbad cannot open their beaches. They cannot be less strict than what the public health orders are. So that's where we stand right now. I'm going to put a link into the new health order in case anyone wants to take a look. The restaurant, bars, and wineries are all in section 14, so it kind of breaks down the guidelines there. And also a lot going on at SANDAG. We got the update from the City of Carlsbad, the RHNA numbers. That was a big discussion last Friday. There were 4 cities that wanted to amend their RHNA numbers. They felt that what was given to them was unfair. So like the City of Coronado, the Navy base is taken into consideration for their population. They felt that being allocated 1,000 units for the City of Coronado was too much. Solana Beach was in there, Lemon Grove, and I can't remember who the 4th one was. That they requested to amend their numbers, so to reduce their numbers. That passed, I think it was 14-5, but then the weighted vote was called and then it failed. So we continue to have the struggle with the weighted vote down at SANDAG. So I think I squeezed it all in.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot happening at the county. So thank you for sharing with us. I don't see Jason Haber. Do we have a representative from the city on the call? Not today. Okay, well, we got a good representative in the housing department director, so that was great. Let's move along to some of our bill updates. Let's pass it on to Catherine.
Great. So first of all, last month we heard about the Carlsbad station development. We made a recommendation to the board to approve that, so that did go to the board and they approved it. So I just want to give you an update on that. In the past, we've also gone over some of the job killer bills, so I wanted to continue and update you on some of those. In particular, there's AB 196, which is the workers' compensation. Basically, this bill increases workers' compensation cost for employers by presuming that contradiction of the COVID-19 by all essential workers is a workplace injury. And so basically, the shift of burden of proof goes from the employee to the employer. So that's a bill that's kind of on our radar right now. Once again, that's AB 196. There's another bill that's new, which is AB 398, and that's a head count tax. Basically, that institutes a tax of $275 per employee for corporations, LLCs, limited liability partnerships that have 500 employees or more. So in perspective, 500 employees at $275, that's an extra $137,500 in taxes to these bigger employers. So that's something that's on our radar as well. Then there's also the AB 299, and that one is the new protected leave and threat of litigation. This one imposes a burden for employers of every size that allows up to 10 days of bereavement leave of a death of a spouse, child, parent, sibling, grandchild. And basically this is in Senate right now. As of June 11th, it's being read for the first time. This type of leave potentially could be added to the California Families' Right Act instead. So that's kind of on the table right now to be looked at. And then lastly, there is SB 1383. What this one does, this one is an additional employees' time off. This bill proposes a 12-week leave of absence on any employer with 1 or more employees, and basically increments of 1 to 2 hours. It's not just all at once. It can be, so it's just more of an administrative also look at how do you manage that for smaller employers. So once again, these are some of the bills that are out there that are on our radar. There are more, but we'll definitely keep our eyes open and let you know. And I know in the past we have had the discussion about looking at the split roll Prop 13 that will be on the ballot. So it is definitely something we're looking at for the agenda in the future and on our radar. So with that, that's where we're at. I don't know, Brett, if you have anything else to add on any of the other job bills, killer bills.
No, I think you covered it. Thank you, Catherine.
Great. Okay.
Thank you, Catherine. And now, Brett, do you have updates from the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce on our events and other things?
Sure. Thanks, Teresa. So just a couple of quick events for the month of July. Happy July, everybody. First half of 2020 is over, and what a roller coaster that's been. But for the month of July, we have a little less. We usually take a break from some of our typical activities, less of our committees meet, less of our networking, but I wanted to highlight a couple things that are coming up. Tomorrow, we are hosting a workshop with Cal State San Marcos. And Cal State San Marcos has made an offer to do free consulting with companies to help people transition, you know, with all the different challenges that we faced with COVID-19 and our business pivots and everything that needs to happen. So they have some outstanding resources through their College of Business, folks that have been in business for years and years and years. And Jim Hammerly himself and Miguel De Jesus will be on the webinar tomorrow at 2 p.m. So it's on the Chamber's calendar. If you go to our website and go to our community calendar, you'll see there and you can register for that. But a great chance for people to get aware of what these resources are and see if they might be a fit for your own business or businesses that you know. So I highly recommend that workshop tomorrow. We will be having a virtual happy hour in the month of July on July 22nd. We'll be doing our virtual happy hour. And we're going to have, just to make it fun, we're going to have a hat contest. So come to our happy hour with your favorite hat. You know, it's kind of like horse racing season and the opening at Del Mar where everybody wears cool hats. So bring your favorite hat and do that. We are embarking on a campaign starting this week and going throughout the month of July with the City of Carlsbad, with the CVA on just helping keep Carlsbad open, helping keep business open. And so here's the thing. I'm like many of you, red-blooded American. I hate being told what to do and what I can't do. I hate the stay-at-home order. I hate having to go out and wear a mask. But let's be real. If we don't kind of abide by these things, all we're doing is injuring our own neighbors and fellow businesses, not necessarily because we're personally infecting anybody, but if we flaunt the health directives, then we're just giving more fuel and ammunition to those who are fearful that these spikes we're seeing in COVID are going to get worse, and then we're going to see more shutdowns. So we're calling upon everybody to abide by the health guidelines so that, and encourage others to abide by them out in public especially, and do our best, because I mean, we literally have members who are terrified of this coming weekend. They're terrified of 4th of July weekend because they're afraid it's going to get out in the news that, you know, nobody was social distancing and people weren't wearing masks, and numbers go up a little bit. And if there is more shutdown akin to what we experienced, you know, 2 months ago, there's businesses that have flat out told us they won't survive it. They won't survive another shutdown that they had to endure back in April and May. So our part of the campaign we're participating in with the city in the CVA is just to encourage people, let's do our part, you know, wear the mask, wash the hands, social distance, physical distance, whatever the term is these days. And let's do our best, because it's our neighbor's job that's at stake. It's our neighbor's business that's at stake. You know, it's our fellow humanity that, you know, there's a lot of power resting with one individual in the county of San Diego, you know, with Wilma Wooten. And if we, and not to mention our governor, but if we, you know, if our numbers continue to go the wrong way, this isn't an elected official that we can all go and, this is a person who has a job, and if she sees things going the wrong way, there's not a lot we can do. We can get up and yell and clamor and say, don't shut us down. But at the end of the day, that it doesn't work. She's got this power. So for the sake of our fellow businesses, let's do our part. I'm going to stop.
Thank you. Thank you, Brett. It looks like we've done a good job of keeping everybody on agenda and moving quickly through that. It makes me very happy. We just have a couple more minutes for announcements. I love that some people have put their announcements in the chat. That's the better place to put it, because people can always click on those 3 dots and do a save chat, and you can save all the dates and the links and the emails that people have been posting in the chat. So please feel free to save chat during or after, or just as the meeting is ending. After the meeting, you can't have it anymore. So do it now if you want. Any other announcements that we have not yet heard of or have been shared in the chat? No? JR.
If you guys are not aware, usually Phil Urbina is in this meeting. If you have not heard, his family suffered a rather unexpected loss this past weekend. His younger brother passed away unexpectedly, 49 years old. So Phil is dealing with some pretty deep heartaches, and I'm sure he would be at this meeting, but he's got a rough couple of weeks ahead of him. So if any of you, I know most of you know him, and you might want to reach out and just pay your respects.
Thanks, JR. Any other announcements for the good of the order? Otherwise, we can end this meeting a few minutes early, which is kind of exciting. Having done all of our business. Well, I want to wish you all a very happy Independence Day. Happy 4th of July. Please celebrate safely. And as Brett mentioned, physically distance, wear your mask, don't gather with very large groups. Please be careful. And have a wonderful rest of your month. And we'll see you on August 5th for Government Affairs Committee next month. In the meantime, if you need anything, Brett's available, I'm available, we're all available to email and call. So we'll talk with you all soon. Thank you very much for a great meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Call the SBDC.